Welcome to the Conquering Chronic Illness Show. I'm your host, Daphne Wiswell, the chronic illness coach. And each week, I'm going to be bringing you stories, strategies, and sparks of hope that I pray will encourage you on your journey through life as a conqueror. If illness, mindsets, or other obstacles have held you back from living the life you desire, and you've been looking for real hope, real strategy, and real connection, then you've come to the right place. I'm so glad you're here. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to this episode of the podcast where I'm so excited to introduce you to my really good friend, Heather Bedard. She is a wife, a mom to 4 kids, and a certified health educator, which is why I'm so excited to have you on this show today, Heather. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Yeah, I just really wanted to have you on because you and I share a common love for all things health related. We've had lots of talks about nutrition and the immune system and how the body just has this supernatural ability to heal itself when we learn how to steward it. And so I thought maybe we could start by you just telling me a little bit about how you got interested in the subject of nutrition or the immune system or the beauty of the body.
Yeah, I have been interested in health for as long as I can remember. And I think that just kind of grew as I began to have my kids and just realized, man, I really need to figure out how this whole thing works and try to take care of myself and take care of them and set them up for success. So just over the past several years, just trying to dive deeper and deeper and make little changes here and there. And just a couple of years ago, just decided, man, I'm just going to jump all into this and really set myself up and learn. So I started a certification process to do that. And I've just been blown away with what I've learned about the body and how it works. And just realizing, looking out in the world today and how much fear there is over disease and germs and sickness and like all these things that we're trying to protect ourselves from. And I keep thinking like, man, our bodies are so incredible and the way they heal themselves is so remarkable. And God's set that up in such a beautiful way. Surely we can walk through this life without fear. And if we just had some tools to understand how that works, then we can really prevent a lot of disease and really support our bodies and what it's trying to do. So that's just been a really fun journey. I mean, learning stuff like our bodies are like 70 to 80% bacteria and cells and viruses and stuff. And you're like, man, that's insane. Wow. There's nothing to be afraid of. God's given us a lot of tools.
Yes. So I love that so much. Yeah, I love that so much because I totally agree with you on the fear. I think fear actually creates a really conducive environment in our bodies for disease to grow, right? And so I love that you talked about that with fear. And so do you remember a time when maybe you had a shift in your mindset from like, okay, maybe you had like an experience with one of your kids or yourself where there was fear in something health related, and then God showed you how to shift that into feeling hopeful or taught you some kind of a strategy to use something natural. Do you have anything to share about that?
Yes, for sure. My second born son was a healthy baby when he was born and did really well up until about 6 months. I started feeding him solid foods, and we did a lot of oatmeal and stuff, and he was just ravenous. He just like ate tons of food, still does. And he just began to become the most like sad, terrible baby, like just cried and cried all the time. And I just didn't know what to do. And his stomach became real distended and he would vomit over and over, and he was turning orange and like crazy things. We took him to the pediatrician and we're like, what do we do? He looked like a starving baby and like skin and bones on his arms and legs and just this huge belly.
Oh my gosh.
And the pediatrician was like, well, we don't really know. We know we can run some blood tests and figure out maybe something's going on with that. And I was like, there's no way that there's just something random going on with him. There has to be a root cause. And we ended up taking him to a naturopath, and he told us, why don't you take him off gluten, for 3 weeks and see. And I was like, that's it. That's what it is. And so we ended up taking him off of gluten. And within, I would say, days, he was a completely different baby. Wow. And just smiled again. I smiled again. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And so just having that really simple little tool that's not maybe mainstream knowledge, and just praying and asking God. People were giving us thoughts like, oh, you need to feed him milk, or you need to feed him this. And I kept feeling in my spirit like, no, that's not the right thing. And we found out later that if we would have done those things, it would have really, really messed him up, and caused him a lot more distress in his gut, which was so inflamed. And to this day, God healed him. Actually, a couple of years later, he's completely healed from gluten intolerance, and
wow,
it's amazing. So
oh my
that
gosh,
will always stand as one of my testimonies of asking God for wisdom and leading us to the right people, and he will. And taking away that fear that my child was going to die and I didn't know what was wrong.
right.
And he did. He totally gave us the keys to help him find health, and now it's a tool for others.
Wow. I love two things about what you just shared, because I feel like there's this one side where people are like, oh, if there's an issue and you believe that God heals, then just pray about it. Just pray about it. So you did do that. You did pray. You did, your spirit was in tune to things. But on the other hand, you also took some action, right? You took him to a naturopath. You asked for some wisdom. And so I love that you did some spiritual things and some practical things, because I think if we can really learn to combine those, then that's where we can really invite healing and just test things with our spirit, right? Like you were getting some advice from probably well-meaning people, but your spirit knew like, no, that's not the thing. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just go with what God is sharing and what this other person is sharing. And you just knew that that was the right combination or the right strategy for your son. And so that's really powerful, because I think we can't just pray. I don't think we can just pray. And I mean, miracles happen. Of course, we both believe that. I know that, but also we can't just be like, oh, well, I don't think that, maybe just cutting out gluten. I just think that there's a really important key to like combining the practical and the spiritual when it comes to healing our bodies. And so I love that you shared that story.
Yeah. 100%.
Thank you. So, because your family was are y'all still gluten-free? Because I know that your whole family, right, like went into this gluten-free lifestyle whenever that happened with your son.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we mostly eat gluten-free just because I think we all feel better. If we have it once in a while, it doesn't, it's not the worst thing in the world, but we've just found that we do feel better without it. And so we try.
Yeah. No, I love that too, because I think a lot of people feel very restricted, or like it's 100% or nothing. And so just knowing that like, okay, if you don't have an actual allergy to something and you feel better without it, then just don't eat it. And every once in a while, if there's something that happens, or you're at a party or you're with family at a special occasion and someone just really wants you to try this thing that they worked really hard to make, then go for it and know that you're not causing too much harm.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's something that's important to remember. Like you said, that it's not about perfection. There's so many, I think one thing that would just paralyze me with fear is like, there's so many different diets and so many different ways of eating. Like you should never do this, or you should always do this. And realizing it's not perfection. There's no people group in the whole world that eats completely what the quote unquote perfect diet is. And they live for, really, really long time. So there's a balance to everything. And, I think taking care of your body as much as you can and setting it up for success, once in a while, have a treat, enjoy a glass of wine, just enjoy life. I think food's meant to be enjoyed. And that's a gift from God.
I agree. Yes, I agree. I know. I think one of the things that I learned in nutrition school was that one of the people groups that lives the longest enjoys on a very regular basis olive oil, dark chocolate, and red wine. And I thought,
Yeah.
yes, thank you, God. Like I want to enjoy all those things.
Amen.
So I love that you said that. It's so good.
Yeah, I'll take my chocolate and my wine.
Yeah, together, right?
Together.
So good. So, okay, can you tell us a little bit about what is it that I want to hear about, like what really sparked your desire to get certified in becoming a health educator?
Yes. I think it was COVID. I just realized, like I mentioned before, that I'm gonna have to learn how to take care of my family, because I don't know if we can get into a doctor or what's happening in the world. Like I need some answers and some tools. So that kind of sparked that desire, and feeling like God just said it's time to do something new, to give it a shot. And I realized, just having my kids, and I'm trying to think of how to say it. I didn't feel very confident, and that there are a lot of other moms or families out there that maybe didn't feel confident in the decisions they were making for their families. And the medical mill is out there, ready to get you all kind of wrapped up in that. And I wanted to be able to help give other moms and other families tools in order to be able to make decisions. And so to me, it's really, I love the education part of it. That's really what I'm focused on. And, giving people tools to make informed medical decisions. How do I talk to my doctor, and how can I communicate? How can I read these charts? Or how do I understand these studies? Like, you can read a study online that says, you should drink cow's milk all day long, and then another one that says never drink it, it's going to kill you. Like, but which one's right? They're both, they sound so professional. And so just knowing the tricks of the trade and some of the myths, and
who paid for the study to be done, right?
Following the money. So, those things changed my life. And so I'm just hoping that I can provide the same sort of confidence and encouragement to other families out there to do that. To not just listen to the experts, but kind of understand some of the basics of how their body functions themselves.
Right. I love that. Just for people to be empowered in their own health, to be able to advocate for themselves and for their kids, right?
Yes. Yes. Because it's scary to go into a doctor's office and they're telling you these things, and in your gut, you might be feeling, no, that sounds awful. Like, all those side effects are terrible. There have to be other options. And so to be able to offer other options or suggestions, recommendations, and be able to talk to your doctor or make those decisions is awesome. It's vital.
Yeah. Or even when the opposite happens, right? Like in my own experience in the last year or so, it's like going and getting testing and they're like, oh no, there's nothing wrong. But then you have all these symptoms and you're like, well, I wouldn't be having all these symptoms if something wasn't wrong. And so knowing how to do some root cause research for yourself and discover what's actually going on, so that you can begin to heal in all those places that typical lab reports or doctors are going to say like, oh no, there's nothing wrong, because they wait until there's an actual diagnosis. And we know that our bodies are beautiful things that want to heal. And if we can just figure out what it is that needs to heal, so we can support that, then we don't have to wait until there's a diagnosis that needs to be reversed.
Exactly. So true.
So tell me about some, share some simple things with us that you've learned about, I don't know, you and I have talked about all kinds of things. I'm thinking right now about when I came to your house and we had that fun day where we like made all those little salves and tinctures with the different herbs. Like that was so fun. But what are some like basic common things that you would think moms get scared about? Like right now, I'm actually thinking about like fevers, what are some things that people can do when like simple common things come up and they don't want to run to the doctor and they don't want to give into fear? Share some tips and strategies with us about some natural solutions to some common things.
Okay. So for fevers, that's a big one. And that's something I've been trying to delve into and learn more about, because I used to be really scared of them. And it's like, oh no, it's 100 and we gotta take him in. There's something, he's dying. And just realizing that the fever is the body's way of killing the bad bacteria or the virus or whatever is trying to attack the body. And so that fever is really important. And obviously there's a point where that's dangerous, right? But that's very, very rare. Mm-hmm. So, trying to figure out, okay, well, what is going on? And so how can we support the body? Maybe by taking a warm bath or a cool bath, or using, sometimes, some people really try the oils, and those really work a lot, like peppermint or different things like that. We just use a lot of like cool rags to try to keep them comfortable, but still allow the body to do the work that it needs to do.
Yep.
So because I think that taking like a fever reducing drug isn't really fixing the body. It's just bringing that fever down and depressing the immune system. So that's not really helping, So
right.
I'm trying to think of some other
what
things.
About like an earache or a cough or simple things like that?
Use garlic for almost everything.
Me too.
So,
garlic oil is a miracle. I feel like
it is a miracle. Garlic oil in the ears. And a lot of people don't know, and I didn't know in the beginning, was that a lot of ear infections resolve themselves within a few days without any doctor's involvement at all. And because, like, as you know, they will prescribe an antibiotic for almost any ear infection.
Yep.
And the last time they did, I think my kids had swimmer's ear or something like that, and prescribed us an antibiotic. Yes. And I was like, this is not
yeah.
Okay, that doesn't make sense. Or they'll prescribe it for a viral infection, but maybe it's a bacterial, we don't know. So, and that just destroys the gut, which is where most of your immune system is housed. So we use the garlic oil. We use it behind the ears, sometimes even in the ear. Coughs and things like that, we use a diffuser, dehumidifier, depending on what the cough is from. Lots of echinacea, lobelia, trying to think of some other herbs, elderberry. We do that preventatively even, but often I think like the grocery stores will have like tinctures already made that you can just put into some juice, which is what my mom did. I hated it, but when I was little. We also do apple cider vinegar. I swear by it. My kids think it's the best thing. So we'll do, especially if it's a cough, a sore throat, we'll do apple cider vinegar with honey, even a little bit of Ceylon cinnamon. It's really good for bacterial things or viruses.
Yep.
So
my sister calls that a stinky drink.
It's true.
whenever her kids get sick or she's like, okay, time to drink your stinky drink, like because it is a little stinky, the apple cider vinegar.
It is,
but it works.
Very stinky.
It works.
It does. And if your kids think it's a treat, that's even better. And colloidal silver and Manuka honey. Those are my two staples. You can get medical grade Manuka honey. It's a little pricey, but it's worth it. It's even a better antibacterial than like Neosporin. You can use it on burns and
my mom actually had, I can't remember what it was. I'd have to ask her, but there was something like she had something with her skin, and I don't remember if it was a rash or some kind of like bites that she had or whatever, but she was every night making this like tincture, I guess, with honey, and I can't remember what other things. This was a couple of years ago, but it cleared up so quickly. I was like, wow, that is so powerful.
It's incredible. It's really awesome. And there's one other things I know, like at least in Texas where we are, there's a lot of allergies and stuff. You can do, I can't really handle it, but some people can. The little rock, pink Himalayan salt. Like one, maybe I can only handle one, but you can do one or two little salts and suck on them under your tongue.
Oh my goodness.
That's supposed to relieve like nose and allergy symptoms. So, and honestly, hydration. So I just have the kids drink as much as they can handle, because often a lot of allergies are related to dehydration and
flush them out.
So flush them out.
Yeah. That's good advice. That's really good advice.
Yeah.
So tell me about like, because I know that a lot of moms listening might be like, okay, well, that all sounds great, but how am I going to get my kids or my family on board with things like this? Because, what I know from my kids, they were older when I really started discovering that God really did make everything in nature that we need for
Yeah.
healing. Now, and people listening might already know that my kids have to take some pharmaceuticals, which I wish they didn't, but
Hmm.
when your pancreas doesn't produce insulin, you don't have any other choice.
That's right.
There's nothing natural you can do to come up with your own
Hmm.
insulin. But like everything natural under the sun, and they were a little bit older. And so there was some resistance to some changes that we started implementing. So what kind of advice would you give to moms who want to start implementing changes and there's resistance from a spouse or from kids and they just want to do what's familiar? What would you say to them?
I think baby steps. I
Mhm.
mean, I tried the whole like we cleaned out the pantry and like this is how we're eating.
Me
It
too.
didn't go over very well. And I'm still our family is still on a process, because there's 6 of us. And so there's a lot of change of mindsets or just, you know, I guess perspectives on health that have to change, and I have to give space for that, and I'm still learning. So I would say baby steps, and we do try to keep things that are familiar. So like spaghetti's an easy one, right? So we'll do gluten-free
Mhm.
noodles instead of regular noodles, for like burrito bowls, and trying to do just a little bit less meat.
Mhm.
So I'll do roasted potatoes with taco seasoning, and the
Yum.
kids, even my husband, was like, oh, this is great. So I was like, okay, that's a little thing. They're still getting the burrito bowl, they have the guac and the pico and the rice and all that, but just some potatoes instead of meat.
Yep.
So little things like that. And then what I'm trying to do with my kids is just the education part. So instead of saying, this is how we're going to eat from now on and sugar is bad for you, well, let's talk about what sugar does to your body. And I really want to develop some tools for parents to be able to do that, so we can talk to
Yes.
our kids about, okay, this is what it's doing to your immune system. This is how long your immune system is down, and how the body's supposed to process sugar, because there are healthy sugars that are good for you. So when my kids started to learn that, they kind of got excited about, oh, like I can eat this and this still tastes really good, this
Mhm.
fruit, this is awesome. And trying to do more of that and a little bit less of the cookie or the brownie, because they know that, man, I eat that, I'm going to feel terrible, and this is
Yes.
why. And so I think some of the
Yes.
why behind it, rather than just making cut and dry decisions, has been helpful for us.
Yeah, I love that because what you're saying, I feel like, is like just having an open conversation with them, like not
Yeah.
just like do as I say, but like this is why we're starting this new lifestyle journey is because I want you to experience freedom in your body and this is what you're going to notice if you go off of this track, right? Like
Right.
it makes me think about my kids when we started to transition and just do things in a healthier way. They both would go when they were younger to medical camps for like a week in the summer. It was like
Oh,
my only time to get a break from being 24/7 caregiver with all these special medical needs, right? And I love that for them, but it's so funny because every time the medical camp, it was fun for the kids. And so it was like, there's hamburgers and there's chili dogs and there's Rice Krispie treats and there's
mhm.
sour, like all kinds of junk
Yep.
that we just weren't eating at home very often at all. And so the first thing when they'd get in the car, like pickup day, they'd be like, Mom, please, when we get home, can you make some grilled chicken and sweet potatoes and broccoli? Like they,
Oh.
they just, they wanted to eat good, healthy food because their bodies just were not
Hmm.
feeling great after a week of all the things that most kids really love, but
Right.
they learned that they knew that that's why their bodies were feeling that way is because they just ate all this junk for a whole week and they
Right.
didn't want to keep doing that. So
Right.
I love that. But it's
I,
because you have the conversations with them, right? And you're teaching them
yeah.
as you go why you're making the changes and what they might want to pay attention to in their bodies. So that's really
Right.
cool.
I love that, because it's like they're learning to make their own decisions,
Yes.
because they're not going to live with us forever. And I told my kids this the other day, because we're on the road a lot and meeting all sorts of different families and stuff with different perspectives on health. And, they'll come to me and they'll be like, well, does this have dye in it? And like, can we eat this? And they're asking in front of these other people. I'm like, okay, honey, first of all, this is a private family conversation. Just eat the thing. And then it's like, well, okay, I want you to make your decision. Like, you know what's in it. You can read it. And if you want to choose, you can, choose to have it or choose to not. But, the pros and cons of each. And eventually I want to not have to set those boundaries, but you will for a while. So
yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I know. My niece is 9 and she's so cute. She went to one of my sister's friends' houses recently and she's never had a Pop-Tart in her life, didn't even know what a Pop-Tart was. And so the friend asked her, like, well, do you want a Pop-Tart? And she's like, what is that? I don't know what that is. And so she showed her. And of course, it looked very appealing to my niece, right? But I think, I can't remember if she read the ingredients or if the friend just told her like what was in it. And my niece says, oh, I can't have that. I'll poop my pants. Like, I just knew like there's way too much sugar in that. My body will not tolerate it well. So I just better not even try. And then she's 9, so
that's amazing.
Yeah, my sister's doing a great job. Can you share with our families, Heather, 1 or 2 baby steps that you think are really good places for them to start when it comes to just starting to understand the beauty of the body and the immune system and natural healing?
It's very good. I think baby steps, I think the first one would be to take a deep breath. As silly as that sounds, just to realize that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And like we talked about the fear and all of those things, so much of that, I think we have to understand is projected onto us from the media and from huge lobbyists, corporations, pharmaceutical companies that make money off of that. And to me, that's the very first baby step, is like, hold on a second. This might not be everything that I think it is. Take a deep breath and know that it's going to be okay. And there are often really simple things. And then I think the second thing to learning about like natural things and the immune system is just make some steps to eat some more whole food, plant-based things. That doesn't mean you have to be a vegetarian or a vegan or anything, but just adding some small things like that are going to be massive in supporting your body and giving it some real fuel that's going to be able to help those cells to heal quicker and to recover a lot quicker. I know, like, if I just take out sugar, then my allergies are better. I'm not so tired. Just really, really simple things like that. And then do find some people that you can trust. The internet's full of all sorts of things, but things that aren't bringing fear, right? Things that are getting to the root of the issue and not just kind of fluffing over the top of it, I think are really important. So those are things, like steps on the journey that I've tried to do, is just like take a deep breath, realize not every message that's coming at me is true, and then just make a step to eat some live things.
Yes.
And I feel a lot better. And so you can go all sorts of places from there, but those are 2 simple things. Yeah.
Those are really good basics. And I agree with all of them so much. And I especially love the advice about the plant. I think like people get really overwhelmed, like, when you're talking about like going gluten-free, people get so overwhelmed with like, oh my gosh, I can't have this, I can't have that. And I think if we just put our focus on all of the beautiful food, like there's such an abundance of foods that we can have, even if we decide to take out sugar or gluten or dairy or whatever it might be. There's so much food. There's so many choices of things that are really good for our bodies and our immune systems. And so I love that you said, especially like you walk in the produce section of the store. And I mean, I even think about this sometimes when I go in, I'm like, wow, I don't even know what this is. I've never tried this before. And I'm 43 years old. Like, like I should probably try that at some point, but it looks a little freaky, like dragon fruit or what. I've tried dragon fruit, but there's some things that I'm just like, what even is that? So if I've never tried it before, there must be an abundance of things that I could put in my body that would fuel it really well.
Yes. And just to go along with that, one thing that I've been doing is just listening to my body. So
Mm,
I think it's super fun, like to go in the store and walk around the produce section, just be like, what stands out? What looks
yes.
really good? What am I drawn to? Or when I'm thinking about, I'm so hungry, what sounds good right now? Often your body will talk to you. It will tell you
Yes.
exactly what you need. And I remember for a long time I was pregnant with my daughter. Strawberries is what I was craving. It's different when you're craving cookies. Okay, that's not like a
Mhm.
real whole food, but there's something in the strawberries that my body needs. Or often if you're struggling with a blood issue, cardiovascular issue, red
Mhm.
things, those are
Mhm.
gonna look really good and be so good for you. So I think if we're talking about first steps too, like that's kind of fun. Maybe
Yes.
take a fun trip to the grocery store and just be like, man, what sounds really good,
Mhm.
and try something new. We've been trying to do like eating the rainbow with the kids. We've done that for a little while, where it's like we'll just pick a color
Yeah.
and we'll talk about that color, the vitamin C in oranges, but there's also really awesome minerals and other things that are in there too that we don't really think about when we're putting food in our mouth. So
That's so good.
that's another way, like when you're talking about the kids and helping them to make those decisions, talking about what's in that food and how that's supporting your body is really fun.
Yeah, it can be fun. I think that for some
Yeah.
people it might feel really daunting, especially, you and I both have educations and backgrounds in this thing, but there are all kinds of things online where you can learn. I've seen YouTube, like all kinds of stuff where it's like, well, I just want to learn about this one thing. And it can be a fun
Yeah.
experience if you make it a family experience. I think like this is something we're going to all
Yes.
learn together. This is something we're all going to do together. And this is going to benefit all of us. And it's not going to feel like a chore and it's not going to feel hard or overwhelming. Like
Right.
we're all just going to learn and grow together.
Right.
Yeah. My
I agree
family had
that
a
it
lot of
doesn't have
fun.
to be that.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I agree. It doesn't have to be a chore. And yeah, like if you get a diagnosis of something that you're not able to eat the things that you're used to eating,
Mm-hmm.
there are really good options and little baby steps. Try cauliflower rice instead of regular rice, or try
Yes.
potatoes instead of ground beef, and you might be
Yes.
surprised.
We did
But
one of mine when I was trying to do more plant-based things was we did jackfruit instead of like pulled pork.
mhm,
I love pulled pork and I was like, oh, I
yes,
can't have my pulled pork anymore. But jackfruit really does have a similar consistency. And if you cook it and season it and do all the things, like you can really have a taco salad that tastes a lot like pork.
right,
I don't know if everyone in my family would agree, but there were a couple of them that were like,
no,
oh yeah, this is good. I can do this in place of pork. And my body just feels so much better when I eat
yeah.
that.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
get used to it. It
Right.
becomes even preferable after a while,
Yeah, that's another thing
surprisingly.
that I
Yeah.
love to talk to clients about is the fact that like you can teach your body what to crave. Like you really
Yeah.
can. Like if your body is really craving sugar all the time, it might be because you need energy. And so if you need
Yeah.
energy, let's get some natural energy. Let's make sure that we're getting enough protein and fat and
Yeah.
vitamins and minerals and do that with really good whole foods. And then all of those cravings are going to subside because you're giving your body what it needs. So
Right.
I love that you talked about listening to your body and seeing what stands out to you in the store. And those are just fun ways to implement those baby
Yeah.
steps. So,
Yeah. I agree. It's like
great.
that whole thing about food over medicine, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Like, and so many cultures, and that's another thing I get really excited about talking about is food is their medicine. Like they're so
Yes.
healthy in many of them because they eat the herbs and the spices, and
Mm-hmm.
their whole diet is constantly fueling their body, and so they're not fighting against a lot of the preservatives and GMOs and things that we're bombarded with here in America.
Yes.
But we can do the same. It's a little bit harder to find sometimes, and you have to do your research, but I mean, you can stay very healthy and you can fight these things with diet, and if you have to take a pharmaceutical, it's okay. It's going to be okay, but you can do a lot
Yes.
to just help.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't
I
go
love
wrong.
that so much. I know I have one friend. She's actually not in Texas. She's in Massachusetts, but I'm like, why don't we have this in Texas? We have so many farms here, but she can actually get delivery from different farms who will like, you get your basket. Like here, I think I'd have to
Mhm.
drive like an hour to go pick up something for the week, which would be okay, but I haven't invested the time to do that. I'm like, I'll just go to Trader Joe's and buy my organic produce.
Yeah.
But she has all these different farms that she can, raw milk, different fruits and
Mhm.
vegetables, pasture raised meats. And it's just so accessible in so many communities. She had to do the research. She had to find them.
Yeah.
But once she did, she was like, wow, this is actually more convenient than having to go to the store because I have several different farms that will deliver to me and I have everything I need for the week. And I'm like, man,
Right.
try not to be jealous of you
I
in
know.
Massachusetts right now.
Just need to start something, that local community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
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 That's
So
amazing.
I thought so too. Well, what if you were going to share one really incredible piece of wisdom, advice, whatever, for a mom who's like, okay, yes, I know I need to do this. I've been feeling in my spirit that it's time and it just feels so overwhelming to me. What's your best piece of advice for that mom about how to, maybe something about shifting her mindset?
Yeah. I think you need to be confident in yourself, which is,
Mhm.
I mean, easier said than done. But we second guess ourselves so much as moms, and it can be paralyzing and it can be so overwhelming because it just looks like, oh my gosh, all this to do, or all these changes to make, or I want to do it, but I don't know how. But you don't have to have all the answers. You really don't. And go with your gut. The Holy Spirit will speak to you and tell you, and he'll guide you and lead you on whatever path he wants you to go on, whatever is best for you and your family. And I would say just be confident. Just say, you know what, we're going to try this one thing. We're going to do, this is what I feel is right, and go for it. And you know what, you might be wrong and you fail. It's okay. We'll get up, we'll try it again.
Yes.
But I know for me, the confidence issue has been one of the hardest, because you just don't want to make any decisions because they might be the wrong one.
Mm.
And it's hard to know what the right step to take is. So I think just start with one small decision. Okay, maybe this fever, we're going to let it run its course for this long. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try, 2 or 3 different things and see how they go. Start there. You might be surprised,
Yeah.
We did that with my daughter the other day, and I was like, okay, I'm not running to the first, Tylenol, ibuprofen, she's dehydrated. So we're going to let her sleep. We're going to diffuse some things. We're going to give her a ton of water and electrolytes. And she was fine a couple hours later,
So good.
Yeah.
The beauty of the body, the immune system knows how to do its job. We just have to support it. And that's what you did, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
I love that. Well, Heather, thank you so much for joining me today. It's always so much fun talking to you and learning from you. And I know that our audience is going to be so inspired when they hear this conversation. And I'm going to make sure to let everyone know in the notes where they can find you on social media and how they can connect with you. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Daphne. It's been an honor. So I love talking with you about all this. Thank you for having me.
Yes. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to the Conquering Chronic Illness Show. I bless you to know that you are more than a conqueror. And if you'd like to get around other women who are on a journey to developing that identity for themselves, that identity of conqueror, then you're invited to join me in my totally free Facebook group called The Conqueror Community. It's a place where you can connect with like-minded conquerors, women who are on a journey of conquering all the things that are threatening to stand in the way of the abundant life Jesus promised them. When you gather in a community of women who are encouraging and uplifting and supportive and full of hope and their own testimonies of conquering, then it fuels your faith to keep going on your own journey. So I hope that I'll see you there.